Just a couple of hours after moving into my new place, I ended up outside in the driveway, shirtless, holding a half-eaten breakfast burrito while a furious woman in a tennis outfit stormed toward me. She had the kind of confidence you only see in someone who had probably never once been told no. Hugging a clipboard to her chest like it was holy scripture, she barked, "You are not allowed to have a metal mailbox, sir, and that truck of yours is completely against our community standards." I just stood there, blinking slowly as salsa dripped onto my moving boxes, trying to make sense of what was happening. "Ma'am, I literally moved in 2 hours ago," I said, unbothered. She snapped back, "Well, you'll have to leave until we grant you occupancy approval," waving her clipboard as though it were a decree signed by the Supreme Court. What she didn't realize was that she had targeted the wrong house entirely, and she was about to learn that. My name is Dustin Greeley, 35 years old, working as a logistics analyst for a shipping company. After years of renting paper-thin apartments where I could hear my neighbors argue about laundry schedules, I finally scraped together enough money to buy my dream home, a charming craftsman-style place on Sycamore Ridge Lane. I enjoy simple things, tinker with my restored Ford Bronco, grilling on weekends, and most of all, minding my own business. The woman ruining my moving day, though I didn't know it yet, was named Vera Dullweather. She had been the president of the Crimson Oaks HOA for 14 years straight and had won something called the Spirit of Suburbia Award 4 times, which, bafflingly, was an actual award. Her reputation was infamous. She once insisted on DNA testing for dog droppings on sidewalks. She tried banning rocking chairs on porches because they encouraged loitering. She measured people's grass at dawn every Sunday with a ruler. The problem was, my house wasn't even in Crimson Oaks. My street wasn't under HOA authority at all. But Vera either didn't know or didn't care. She took one look at my Bronco, my solar pathway lights, and the stone walkway, and immediately launched into full-blown enforcement mode. That week, my mailbox became the front line of her war. First came 3 anonymous letters warning me about shrub violations. Amusing, since I hadn't even unpacked enough to think about planting anything. The letters were typed in Comic Sans, which somehow made them worse. Then I found a bright pink violation slip stapled to the old rose bush that had been growing in the yard for decades. Next came a warning about my window curtains, which were apparently the wrong shade of beige. According to her approved color list, eggshell white was fine, but ivory wasn't. Desert sand was fine, but beach sand was not. Finally, a certified letter arrived, signed with such an aggressive flourish that the pen nearly tore the paper. It demanded that I appear before the HOA board within 72 hours to explain my unauthorized presence in my own home. I was less angry than bewildered. Sitting at my kitchen table with a fresh cinnamon roll, I decided to settle the matter once and for all. I drove to the county assessor's office, where a kind clerk named Dolores greeted me. When I explained what was going on, she actually laughed. "Oh, sweetheart," she said, pulling up the property map on her screen. She pointed with a chewed-up pencil. "See here? This is your house. And this line, this is the HOA boundary. You're 2 whole streets outside of it. They don't touch your property." She highlighted the area in yellow. My home sat comfortably outside Crimson Oaks territory, in a section deliberately excluded back in 1998 to preserve its rustic character. Vera's authority stops at Maple Drive. Dolores said with a grin, "That's about 1/3 of a mile away. She has as much say over your house as I do over the International Space Station." I asked for 3 certified copies of the map and the documents proving the HOA boundaries. Dolores handed them over with almost mischievous enthusiasm. She highlighted everything with neon green marker, slapped on sticky notes that read things like, "Not an HOA," and "Vera has no power here," complete with cheerful smiley faces. Armed with this, I crafted my response to her cease and vacate letter. I sent her a certified letter of my own with 2 attachments. The first was a notarized map, outlined so boldly in red marker it could have been seen from space, clearly proving she had no authority over my property. The second was a cease and desist drafted by my attorney, who also happened to be my old college roommate and agreed to handle it in exchange for a steak dinner. The document accused her of harassment and mail fraud, warning her to stop contacting me or deal with legal consequences. But I wasn't done. I went out and ordered the largest mailbox legally permitted, built from solid metal and painted in a color that would never make it onto an HOA's approved list. On the side, I added a custom brass plaque that declared in bold letters, "This home is not in your HOA, Vera." Frank, the mailman who had been delivering around here for over 15 years, thought it was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. Later, he told me that when Vera tried to pressure him into stopping delivery to my address, he calmly reminded her that interfering with U.S. mail is a federal crime, and he'd be glad to report her if she pushed it further. According to him, her expression was like someone had just announced the cancellation of her favorite TV show. Things came to a head one sunny Sunday afternoon. I had invited over a few neighbors, none of them part of the HOA, for a barbecue. The grill was going, classic rock played at a friendly volume, and everyone was having a great time. That's when Vera made what she must have thought would be her triumphant move. She showed up with a tow truck, demanding that my restored Bronco be removed immediately for violating HOA vehicle aesthetics. What she didn't expect was that the tow truck driver was my cousin Eddie, who I'd recommended to plenty of locals. Eddie checked the paperwork, looked at me, and then noticed something amusing. Vera's shiny Lexus was parked illegally on my easement, blocking access to my side yard. Calmly, he pointed this out. Vera lost it. She ranted about her authority. Then, in a fit of rage, hurled a sandal at Eddie. She missed and hit her own little Pomeranian, Princess, who bolted straight into my freshly planted tomato garden. By this point, someone had already called the police. 2 officers arrived to find Vera screaming about property values while standing in my tomatoes, Eddie explaining property law like it was just another Tuesday, and my guests recording everything. One neighbor had even gone live on social media with the caption, "Karen versus Boundary Line, the HOA meltdown." It racked up 10,000 views in under an hour. The officers looked over property maps I provided, listened to witnesses, and promptly cited Vera for trespassing and disturbing the peace. They strongly advised her to leave immediately. Limping back to her illegally parked Lexus, barefoot on one side, covered in tomato leaves, she vowed to call her lawyer. And she did. Unfortunately for her, her lawyer told her the same thing mine had told me. She had no case, and she was lucky I hadn't pressed charges. The HOA board, humiliated by the viral video and the bad publicity, convened an emergency meeting without inviting her. The outcome was brutal. She was fined $6,200 for harassment and unlawful enforcement attempts, which included every bogus violation she'd thrown at me, plus penalties. In less than 5 minutes, they unanimously voted her out of the presidency and off the board altogether. Her new assignment? A position they invented just for her. Chair of the Neighborhood Mulch Committee. A committee of exactly one person, with no authority and no duties. When Frank delivered that registered letter informing her the fine and demotion, he made sure I was outside to witness it. Vera stood in her driveway for a good 10 minutes, staring at the paper, opening and closing her mouth like a fish out of water. Finally, she crumpled the letter, hurled it to the ground, and stormed into her house, slamming the door so hard that her HOA-approved wreath popped off and rolled down the walkway.